Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Tran, you ready to talk Texas, Texas Tech, Texas TCU? A lot of Texas teams
hmm
going on here. Big 12 football. Thankful to have another week where we get to see our teams play. But first, Tran, I want to start with you. Just coming out of Texas Tech, the We Survive game, the game that we've lost a lot in the past. Let's be real.
Yes.
And miracle happens, we get in overtime, and we escape a critical upset that would have derailed this entire season. So starting there, and then on the backside, we'll get to our TCU prep. Starting there, just your overall thoughts coming out of the Texas Tech game, and we'll kind of bounce around and have a quick conversation first there.
So my overall thoughts when I first sat down and watched it with you, I was happy yet disappointed. You know, um, I was expecting a team to come out and just exert their will on another team,
Mm-hmm.
lean on them. It didn't even seem like for the most part, we really didn't get any push on the rushing game. Keontae had the most success, and I think it was Sam that was not too far off of him, but those were off of QB scrambles. But I mean, Roshan, 16 attempts for 44 yards. That's not like him. Bijan, of course, with the injury, he only had 4 rushes, but he only had 12 yards. So it looked like their defensive front was actually getting a push on our offensive line, and we saw it also in the passing game when they would actually get to the quarterback, rushing 3. So those are a couple points that I was disappointed in. I was disappointed, not necessarily after rewatching the game in the coverage for the defensive backs, but more so the tackling. The tackling itself can be changed. It can be coached up. You can actually there was a couple times where they just didn't even wrap up. They were just trying to hit him in the hip.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an easy fix. It wasn't like anyone was just burnt deep downfield over and over again. Even the catches with Vasher, the guy had to make great catches in the end zone. That was a fantastic catch. The one that he was out of
I
bounds,
thought
that
there
was a
was one
fantastic catch.
there was one. It may have been he's a comma, but that
The
Jalen Green.
Moss,
Yeah,
he
Jalen
was
Green
right
got
there.
mossed, but he
Yeah,
played
he
the
was right
ball
there. Yeah, he was
correctly.
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't like the defensive backs were just lost and it was blown coverage. I am a little focused on and a little upset at seeing if we can fix the over the middle stuff, because we were leaving that's where they're getting a majority of their yardage, was getting passes over the middle and just being an athlete and
So
making people miss.
let me chime in there. That's the issue with the linebackers as well, right? Because
hmm
this is why we've gone so hard body after Tony Fields, and it was a disappointment that Tony Fields ends up in West Virginia. So you have, and I'm not trying to throw shade at Juwan Mitchell or anybody. We're just being critical of the game. That's a struggle for him. That is not a
Yeah,
strength of
he's
his.
not a cover. He's not a
He's not a
cover.
coverage
He's run
linebacker.
support.
He can help fill in the run, and his really great gift, in my opinion, is when he's able to blitz up
Get
the
the
A gap.
get to the
Yeah, he's a
quarterback.
very very good at getting to the quarterback. But when you're asking him to run backwards, get proper depth, those are things he struggles with, and just eyes too. And we'll talk more about this throughout, but that's a struggle. I've had some people reach out and say, hey, maybe we look at Court Jaquez in that spot. Court Jaquez, if you notice, the teams that they used him against were more, playing in the box, 12 personnel, big tight ends, folks in the game where he's able to, you're able to hide his athleticism issues, and because he's a great tackler, right? But the problem is he's still going to face the same challenges in the pass game. They ended up going to Delhi a little bit more. Delhi is actually the one with the skill set
hmm
that can help them there. The issue is Delhi's been injured, and Delhi's barely practiced. Like, since he's been back coming off the foot surgery, he hasn't practiced very much, and then he got injured again in camp. So we did get to see him. I think we'll start to see Delhi more, especially when we play pass happy teams like Tech.
What's
But
your
we're
thought? What's your
we're
thought
soft
process
there.
on switching, moving BJ Foster there for our third and medium to third and long situations.
You could
BJ
try
Foster
that.
or Tyler Owens.
You could try that, but once you start making such drastic switches like that in the middle of the season, it's very difficult for a player. Like if they were going to do that, they would have had to done that. In my opinion, they would have had to done that in camp because it's
So
hard to
I
spin
get
somebody
that.
down like that with such little prep time.
So my thought is if it's 3rd and 7 or 3rd and longer, you know, most likely it's going to be I mean, you could still run the ball, but you're not going to run it up the gut against our defensive line for the most part on a 3rd and long. So if we're still rushing only 4 and we drop everyone else into coverage, you know, third and long, 3rd and 4, you don't really have to coach up a defensive back to cover an area. That would be an easy transition.
It's a good thought, and they may go to that. I'm not against that. I see what you're saying. If there's no threat of run or them, because that was a problem that we had with Todd Orlando when he started loading up with defensive backs and they started getting hurt. And some people's theory is they were engaging with the linemen too much and all this type of stuff. But to your point and your suggestion, if they're more so looking at it from a standpoint of, hey, we're we're going to be in a pass only situation and we just want you to guard the flats or guard the back out of the backfield or pick up the tight end and carry him up the field, they should be able to do those things. So I think that's a reasonable suggestion on your part.
Right now, I feel, I know this sounds weird, I feel way more comfortable with Tyler Owens because that tackle that BJ whiffed on, it either looked like one or two things, and I'm going off the benefit of the doubt that it's more so he's protecting his shoulder. He's still, it's mentally in his head that, if he hits wrong, he's going to get hurt again. So if he does have to play up the middle, if someone does decide to run, one of those delay handoffs just to see people drop back and see if the middle is open at all. Tyler Owens is a big guy.
He is, and Tyler Owens is coming. The issue is he's not played snaps on defense.
Yeah.
We're seeing it's 2 weeks in a row we've seen him make
plays.
Really nice plays on special teams. And I think when you're making plays on special teams, that's a good sign because I do want to get to some good, right? Like there were people that were ready on our team when called upon in the moment of truth. Tyler Owens was one. Chris Adamora was one. Jahdae Barron was another one. Cameron Dicker, right? Like Cameron Dicker is stepping up. Like people that they're not in the game the whole time. Malcolm Epps recovering the onside kick. Cameron Dicker executing the onside kick. Like we had guys, that's a good sign for the program, right? When people aren't playing very much, Malcolm Epps could be kicking and saying, oh, I deserve to be out there, blah, 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 or Tyler Owens could say, well, if BJ Foster's going to be missing like that, why not? Why can't I get a shot? But they were ready when called upon. So
did we mention Brennan Eagles? I don't know.
Brennan Eagles absolutely can be included. I mean, we gave Brennan Eagles a shout out in our immediate reaction because he played a huge role in this game, even though the stat sheet may not reflect that with his blocking, critical catches. He obviously had the major 2-point conversion. You texted me this week when the depth chart came out. He's now listed ahead of Tariq Black, who did not have a catch in this game, and we want to see him bounce back. But Brennan, what is a big sign, Tran, I'm glad you brought him up, and we moved to the offense. Sam trusted him. And they ran a play, and as we heard after the game that Tom Herman alluded to, they ran the play that they lost to against West Virginia that Will Greer executed. We were actually both there in that stadium when that happened.
Yes.
And
yes, we were, and we called it beforehand, like if we give it this
where they
touchdown.
isolate the corner, right? And they isolated Brennan Eagles. Game on the line, they trusted him, and Sam trusted him. So all the back and forth, all the frustration, and that's why Sam gets so frustrated with him, right? Because I know you can win these.
Got
routes.
All the talent in the world.
Right.
Yeah, he's gigantic as a receiver. He's athletic. Just go up and get the ball. Own the ball.
Another positive, because I want to kind of do quick fire since we don't have much time here today with you guys, but we do have a special announcement at the conclusion of the video. Sam Ehlinger is a positive for me. I feel better about Sam rewatching the game than I did real time. He didn't have a clean game.
No,
You're going to have games like that, right? whether you either missed, there was times where he was off. There was times where he was late. There was times where he was behind, and he even forced an interception that he shouldn't have thrown. But being able to go back to the old Tom Herman style with the quarterback run because of what the defense was showing us, saw a lot of people getting very frustrated with the play call and whatnot. Yes, I would have liked to see them as well open it up, give them more of the look that Houston Baptist was giving in terms of like 10 personnel and really, really exploiting their corners. But the flip side, they're playing drop 8. They had those 3 linemen. Quarterback power is a good move there. Quarterback draw is a good move there. So they were good at that. There were times where it looked like Sam had escorts. And for him to still have 6 touchdowns in this game, we really felt the impact of no Jake Smith, no Jordan Whittington, a lot of guys being rotated in and out. And it's good. I'm glad Marcus Washington is involved. I'm glad Alvonte Woodard is involved. Kai Money got 4 catches, Brendan Schooler. But when Jake Smith gets back in here, that's going to help Sam. That's going to help
the
Josh.
Offense opens up more.
Right.
Yeah.
Josh Moore, who all of a sudden is attracting all of this attention, justifiably so, because Josh Moore right now is on track as one of the best wide receivers in the country from a production standpoint. And he's announcing his arrival real time. But I'm pleased with Sam's poise down the stretch. When your team is down like that and you kind of need some things to happen, it's like, hey, stay the course. I felt like our 2-minute offense was really, really good and crisp. Did Texas Tech take their foot off the gas? I don't know. That's not our burden. Our burden is to execute. And they executed when they needed to offensively. So I leave this game saying, hey, we left a lot of meat on the bone. We have a lot of things to clean up on the offensive line, both run and pass pro. But you still got 63 points in this game. You're averaging
and
about
it's also
60 points on the season
second
right
game.
now. Second game with Mike, with Mike Yurcich.
Yeah.
Shortened off season, still have a lot of injuries, but they're moving the ball. That's not the issue. I mean, it was frustrating when they stalled a few times in the game. Yes. It's frustrating when, Brendan Schooler can't execute, can't find the football early in the game when we had the zero blitz
touchdown.
And it's a perfect throw, right? Like there's certain things that have to get cleaned up. The line is still having some communication issues with some of the stunts. Kerstetter has to clean up him snapping the ball. That was a problem that I noticed. But overall, I think the other thing that I was a little frustrated with was the penalties.
Yes.
Texas did have 10 penalties for 100 yards. They can't get away with that against Oklahoma or some of the other teams in this conference. That can't happen. And this conference is balanced talent level skill wise as it comes.
I don't know about that. It's frustrating about the penalties, but Kansas State had a ton of penalties. You remember we were watching that and we both were saying that's uncharacteristic for Kansas State, and they still end up winning. With that said, you don't want that because all it does is it kills drives. It hurts your team. I think they said they equate 70 yards to every touchdown for a penalty. So
yeah. The last thing I want to touch on with Tech before we move on to TCU real quick, I do want to say that, and I said this in the post game, and you just reiterated it earlier. The defensive line did play well in this game. Okay, I know they didn't get a sack because some of you brothers started chiming in like, they didn't get a sack, Steve, blah blah blah. They were getting constant pressure all day when they had the opportunity. Look, when you're playing Texas Tech and Alan Bowman in particular, he's getting the ball out very, very, very quickly. Right? He's not, just by nature of how he plays, he's not going to take sacks. Now, the opportunity you have with Alabama, and you guys saw this, is the longer he holds the ball, the more inclined he is to make mistakes. He's not one of these guys that's going to create, right? There's going to be other quarterbacks we're going to see down the road, Brock Purdy, Spencer Rattler, that are better when they have the ball and they're not making quick decisions and they can kind of read and create. Alan Bowman is the opposite of that, right? So, but what we were able to do is in certain situations get pressure. And the other thing is, where I was really impressed with them was in the run game. Yes, Texas gave up a 75-yard touchdown at the end of the game. If you take that away, they only allow 41 yards rushing on the day on about 23, 24 attempts. So they were holding them under 2 yards a carry. Win. That's an outstanding effort by those guys, and that shouldn't be lost with all of the gaffes and the nonsense going on in the pass game. So that's something that they can build off of and get people's confidence up throughout the week. But Texas players, in the press conferences, Tom Herman, they all said all the right things, right? Hey, after we celebrated the win, we flew back to Lubbock. Guys were disappointed. Guys were pissed off with their performance. When they went through the tape, they saw how bad they looked tackling, right? That was the first thing Trance said, if y'all pay attention, when he opened. So these are things that they have to clean up, or else they won't get to where they want to go. I do want to move on to TCU for the sake of time. So TCU just lost their opener. They had their SMU game postponed, so their opener ended up being against Iowa State, which I also think put them at a disadvantage, not being able to play that out-of-conference game, although SMU probably may beat them, right? But they lose 37-34 to Iowa State. Very crazy game as well. Brock Purdy threw had the worst turnover I've seen. It was even worse than the turnover we saw in the reverse in the Miami-Florida State game. But the thing is, Gary Patterson, you heard what Tom Herman said in terms of, some people try to misconstrue that, but there's a respect level there. They're going to come in 4-2-5 look. They have great defensive players in Garrett Wallow and Mooring and Washington, who had 5 interceptions last year. So defensively, they will present some challenges. They've lost a lot of games in their last 5-6 games, but if you notice, all of their scores are 20-17 or 27-30. Like, they're keeping the scores much lower than you're seeing. Yeah. Yes, and that is because of their defense and their coaching. Now, look, Gary Patterson does not have the same luster that he had 3-4 years ago, because they've been losing at TCU, right? I mean, so they've got to get that addressed. But just coming into this game, the little bit that we saw from their Iowa State game before we got to prep, what are your just overall thoughts, outlook for the game on Saturday?
So you gotta take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, they lost by 3, but like you said, that was the worst turnover for a touchdown we've ever seen in our lives. So technically, could be potentially 10 to 14 point swing. But with that said, it's TCU's first game. They didn't play Max Duggan the first quarter and a half.
Mm-hmm. They went Matthew Downing from the transfer from Georgia.
Yep. Then
it was horrible.
Zach Evans did not play.
Mm-hmm.
We do know that Quentin Johnston is a beast already, and we've shown that we've had trouble with the bigger wide receivers. And what is he, 6'3", 6'4"?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they have the infrastructure to score points on us. The thing that I noticed was the offensive tackles were not sound. Every time we were watching it, was his name, Bryce, from Iowa State? I forgot what his name, number 3. Was getting pressure.
Jaquan Bailey.
Bailey, yeah, Bailey. So he was getting pressure every single time.
He had 3 sacks in the first half.
Yeah. Yes, he was projected as a All Big 12 defensive first team, but let's be honest. I think our defensive line is better than just Bailey and the 2 others, because they only rushed. They
3 down.
3. Yeah. So I don't know if we'll get pressure on them, but we'll get some hurries on them. Hopefully we get some hits on, especially since he's had so much time off from college football that he gets a little gun shy. And the couple things that worry me is Johnston and the unknown of Zach Evans. The early start is the thing that worries me. But what's good about it is that we'll play 2 games back to back that are.
I like that too. Yeah, I like back to back. I'm with you there.
But
can we talk about the Zach Evans thing and that they're just going to roll him out against us?
Yeah,
it's like the gift. The gift. So they said he was out. I think it was due to contact tracing and some. He hadn't been with the team a whole bunch, but all of a sudden Sunday's full practice. But hey, look. I mean, I'm just teasing and it's a little gamesmanship, but I do want to see Zach Evans play and we need the reps against better talent, because TCU, I guarantee you, Gary Patterson looked at it and he's like, dude, we ran the ball 40-something times and we didn't even get 100 yards. So whatever the rushing attempts were, but they were horrible running the football, and so they need some juice there. Brooks from Marcel Brooks from LSU, we'll expect to see him as well. He'll be rocking number 0, I believe. So there's some guys in this game, right? When you look at, but the thing is, if they're adding Zach Evans to the party, we're adding Jake Smith to the party,
Yep.
right? So I think it's really going to help us against their DBs are good, but I think it's going to help us from a standpoint of, Sam able to, when we get in those third and criticals and whatnot, he'll have another person to trust, because that trust is being developed. And I think it's there with Josh Moore for sure. It's coming along much better with Brennan Eagles. If we can get that third person in there and Jake Smith to help things. And look, Keontae, I want to go back to Keontae, because Keontae had 12 carries for 89 yards in the Texas Tech game, and he caught the ball well too. So we'll have, even if Bijan's not able to go and they want to give him a little bit of rest before OU to recover from that nasty looking hit, hey, we feel good about the backs. I'm not worried about Roshan. I know you mentioned earlier he had 16 carries, 44 yards. I just thought
I'm
that
not
was more
worried
of
about him either.
I thought that was more of a function of the offensive line, honestly. He ran hard, and some of those he came in on third and shorts, and he needed to get like 2 yards, so it's going to screw up his average a little bit. But overall, like I think the backs will look a little bit better. I think we'll be a little bit better balanced this week against TCU.
They gave up 155 yards just to Hall.
Yeah, Brees Hall had a nice game last week. That's a great point, Tran.
So I think if we can establish our run game, I think we should have a pretty good game. I'm not going to say it's going to be like a 25-point win or something like that. But
though TCU will keep the score down, because we're going to go into our predictions. The last thing I will say, though, is we have to be leery of ball security in this game. This was an issue for us last year. These guys will throw different looks. These guys will rip at the football, and they will take chances on the ball. Now, that when somebody takes chances, that presents opportunities for what? Big plays.
Big plays.
But
yep.
Sam threw 4 interceptions, right, against them last year. So
yep.
That's something that needs to be cleaned up, because people like Garrett Wallow, Mooring, Washington, they will go after that football. So, and Gary Patterson will set traps. Like, that's where I would like to see Tom Herman and our coaching staff evolve. What traps are we going to set for Max Duggan? Because I felt like last week we just tried to come out and play our normal base coverage against Alan Bowman, and we didn't really have anything schemed up to attack his strengths and expose his weaknesses. I didn't feel that way with the game plan. Yes, I believe more of the issues were player execution than coaching, in my opinion. But I'm not. But there were certain things that Tech was doing where I was like, oh, we're not letting Texas do this, right? Or we're gonna make Sam Ehlinger run the ball. We're gonna throw everybody in coverage, and we're gonna make him become Bam Bam Sam again. We got to set some traps for people too. We got to set some. Max Duggan had one of his best games against us last year. That can't happen again in Austin, right? They've got to figure out to set some traps, turn him over. They got some turnovers last week too. Like, that's not Caden Stearns got a pick. Chris Adamore got a pick. Chris Brown got a pick. Right.
Okay, yep.
So we're getting our hands on the football, right? And that doesn't even include the special teams one. But Tran, as we wrap, what's your prediction for Saturday, TCU?
42-35.
42-35, Texas.
Texas, sorry, Texas. Yes. sorry. I think Gary Patterson has our attention. He's 6-2 against us. We were embarrassed at TCU last year. I think we need to come out, and if we're a better team, we need to flex our muscles and show we're a better team.
I think I agree with you. I think I'm going to give them some benefit of the doubt in saying that, brothers are going to be accountable to knowing what they look like on film. And we can't have the BJ Foster situation again. With when I talk about like how badly we're missing tackles, how badly Caden Stearns missed at times, or guys just some of our best players, even Joseph Osai at times, just sliding off of guys. I'm hoping DeMarvion Overshown can say, all right, I made a lot of plays in this Tech game, and I missed a lot of plays in this. I've got to figure out how to either take better angles, slow myself down a little bit, and wrap up the ball carry, because I'm being put in position to make plays. DeMarvion Overshown is being put in position. He made some, he didn't make others. So with that being said, I'm actually going to go a little bit lower and stay in line with what TCU score has been looking like. I think we do pull this out, 34-27. I think it'll be a very competitive football game, especially with Gary Patterson and some of the wrinkles. But I do think we'll be able to figure out how to turn over Max Duggan, and I like my run defense still, with being able to control whatever they throw out, whether Zach Evans is in there or not. So I'm going 34-27, but I think we kind of have the same margin there.
We didn't even throw in the fact that Chris Ash was embarrassed last week. He was supposed to be the home run hire of the offseason.
He's got to prove himself. He's got to prove himself, because I'm not ready to go start heating up coaches. I've had people.
Oh no, I'm not.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you. I'm saying I'm actually glad you brought this up, because it needs to be chimed in on. I'm saying there's some overreaction in the fan base though about certain, like people I've been getting.
Yeah, I love Texas fans.
No, I've been getting messages about it's not even Chris Ash, because I think people are like, they want to see what we look like against OU. That'll be when
that's the judge. Yeah,
that's the judge. Because Alex Grinch got beloved because of what the OU defense did to Texas last year, right? With the 9 sacks. That's when everybody's like, "Oh, it's Grinch. We go blah blah blah." But Texas fans will either make or break with the OU game. So that will be his test. The person that's getting heat right now is Herb Hand. That people are like, I am through with, and half of it is because of recruiting, and the other half is the way the offensive line, people feel that they're underperforming. So have patience with the staffs. Again, weird time all these teams are in, not just in our conference. You look around and that's the announcement I want to make as we wrap here. Tonight we are going to be doing a live chat, because I'm going to drop this video in the afternoon. We're going to be doing a live chat Wednesday night tonight. Billy, who's friend Billy, LSU fan, friend Brandon, A&M fan. We're going to be doing a college football roundtable discussion where we are going to chime in on the state of college football with everybody there. We did one before the season started. Got a lot of great feedback on it, so we're going to be doing one again. Brandon has a big game this week. A&M's playing Bama. LSU's trying to bounce back. We're trying to go 3-0. So
we need to bounce back technically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll be back later tonight. We got to run here, guys. But Tran, I appreciate you as always. And guys, horns always up. Thank you.